Yes, I am patriotic. I love this country. And when I say patriotism, I don't mean in this sort of way like this country is perfect, that if you don't agree with what I say, you should get out the country. I don't believe the founding fathers were chosen people of God to write a super country to be the next Israel. I don't believe that our patriotism comes from our militarism and our conquest of war and the military industrial complex. I don't know if anyone thinks that. I don't think that, it's because of baseball and football. And I don't think people should not complain about problems in this country, and that we should just be grateful to live here. No, I'm patriotic because I actually believe in the values of this country, and I believe that those values help lead us to change and make the country better. To me, that's patriotism. Lately, since 2020, especially after George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protest, and also along with the sort of violence that came with that, there was a lot of questions for many Black Americans if we actually belong in America. That was a discussion on whether we should even celebrate 4th of July. Now, this has always been in the Black American intellectual space and among just your normal Black people. Should we just celebrate Juneteenth as 4th of July for us? This country was not made for us, right? Which is a true statement. Should we belong? And I think other groups have asked that, whether it's Hispanics who've immigrated in, indigenous people who suffer from colonization, being moved off to reservations, having their land taken from them, not be able to be citizens until the early 20th century. The civil rights movement, having to finally get our rights in the 1960s and then still not seeing the fruits of that until sometimes 2 to 3 decades later, being just subjected to poverty and pain and discrimination, right? Are we allowed to be part of that, right? Native Hawaiians probably have a similar thing in their group as well. Hawaii was colonized. Should it be independent? Should we be part of the United States? And I think every individual and every person in those ethnic groups have to figure that out. And then there's this other idea, these two ideas from conservatism and liberalism. Conservatives in general are patriotic. They love the police. They love the military. They just love America for being America. And sometimes I ask a lot of conservatives, why are you patriotic? And they just say, because of its freedom. And I actually love America because it's freedom. But I have a much more complex view of patriotism. And I'm not like people on the left who think because of the problems of the past, America shouldn't be celebrated. We need to just turn everything around and not look back to people like Jefferson and Washington, or even Lincoln, or these people who've done things that were complicated and great, but laid the foundation for this country today. And I think these are interesting questions to have. And despite America's founding, despite its problems, its continued problems today, whether it's systematic racism still showing up in many ways. I know a lot of people don't believe in systemic racism, but I think it is real. I've seen it in my family. Okay, I'm Black. Not all Black people have my experience, but it's a real thing, right? I think we have problems with our economic system and the corruption in the government and big business. And there's a lot of problems, whether it's religious institutions or sort of the cultural and ethnic divide. We're a country that says we're diverse, but guys, I've been over this country, and sometimes you have your Italian neighborhoods and your Greek neighborhoods and your Arab areas, and they don't even mingle with each other in some of these very old cities. I mean, gosh, if you look at the average person's friend group, you probably have friends with most likely people who look just like you. This is just studies and things people have done. So some people say, are we even united? Why should we believe in something when we're divided? The government's corrupt. There's all these plans. There's things that are not happening. We have the elites wanting to do all this stuff to us. We are either pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, and there's so many real contentious issues that impact our country. And yet I still believe in the people of America, because I believe in people, even though people are problematic. As a Christian myself, I think the world is sinful. I think people are sinful and problematic. I don't think we're just a blank slate. I think we come with a very wicked nature, as many Christians will say, right? But also, when I look back at the story of Genesis, it says that God's creation is good, and that includes people. We're a mixed bag. The Lord blessed us, and also, sees that we have a lot of issues. And I think America is a perfect example of that, where people with good and bad intentions have formed this country, and it has led to many problems and many victories. That the human spirit to do better for their children, to do better for their lives, has lived on in the United States. The Black experience is a perfect example of that, where we looked at the Declaration of Independence and say, we want that promise and we're coming to get it. As Martin Luther King said, we're coming to cash our check. And that's why I think I have patriotism, because I believe in the foundations laid, even with all its problems. I believe people can do good. Recently, I was at this Martin Luther King event put on by the Alaska Black Caucus. If you don't know, I live in Alaska, and it's actually a very diverse place. And he had people from the Polynesian community perform, people from different, like, Chinese and Korean people. There was like a martial arts thing too as well. There was an African dance troupe. You had a high school choir perform. You had all these beautiful, diverse faces, and you looked in the crowd, it was people who were Black, white, Hispanic, all type of religious, non-religious, people of sexual orientations, I imagine. It was America in one room. And I just became, a little emotional about it, because I actually believe this country can do better. And that's why I love America. And you should love the country you live in. You should love it for your neighbors. I actually love my neighbors, even if they're sometimes annoying. My neighbor on this house over here, they're actually very strange people. But I want to see them do well. I want to see their children do well too. I don't know, man. I just think we need a little bit more optimism. And I think loving our country and believing we can do better might be part of that. So yes, I'm patriotic, and not a patriotism that is like shallow, but deep, because I actually believe in our values. I believe in democracy. I believe in optimism. I believe we can do better than our previous generations, even though the odds are stacked against us. I actually don't hate Gen Z, that's coming up. I believe we have something to offer. I love being a millennial. I love being Black. I love being an American. I love the city and the state I grew in with all its problems. And believe me, the city I live in has a lot of problems, and you probably shouldn't actually move here if you were thinking about it. There's definitely better cities to live in, but I actually want to see it improve. I want to see children grow up and love this state and the city in it, and be so appreciative of the foundations our elders have done before us, knowing that I am on native land. And that is a complicated history, but that somehow we can bring each other in and make something that maybe has never been done for. So I don't know, maybe this is cheesy and silly, and maybe I'm just not politically astute and just blind, and maybe my optimism is silly, and there's no real unification. But I don't think unifying means conformity. I just think that we can actually unify on a lot of issues and still debate hard issues, because there's things that I don't agree with of people on many different sides of the political aisle. The fact that I'm a Christian puts me at odds with different value systems of people, and yet I can still love my neighbor and be like, no, this is what I believe in, and I still want to see you do well. But also, do you want to try Jesus? So anyway, guys, tell me what you think. Do you think my patriotism is lame or the best thing you ever heard? Put in the comments. Check out one of my other videos.